Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Noel Lorenzana. I'm a CPA, and today I have a special guest for you to answer the most important questions that you probably have regarding the offer and compromise. My guest with me today is Michael Sullivan. He's a former IRS agent, a teaching instructor, and a tax expert news contributor on sites like Newsmax, Fox News, ABC's, and many more. Welcome, Michael.
Great to be here. I've been waiting for this invitation for a couple years. I'm glad I finally made the cut. I guess about 600 people got sick, and I was 601, so I'm very glad to be here.
No, you were at the top of my list. I just haven't had a good opportunity to. Originally, I wanted to do live streams, but those seem a little more challenging. I guess my sweet spot is recorded videos, so that's what we're doing here today.
Yeah, plus if I say something stupid, you can cut me out and stick something else in there, and that's usually me. So we're good to go.
There you go. It goes both ways. So my viewers have asked me about the tax debt forgiveness program, and I know this
Mhm.
is basically the IRS offer and compromise. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it works? Because with your wealth of experience working with the IRS for over 10 years, you know all about this, and I know you've worked thousands of cases. Is that right?
Yeah, I've been doing this since 1973, before you were born. Since most of your
Wow.
viewers were born, I sat at an IRS desk on August 20th, 1973, and I've just worked these cases since then. I used to teach the offer and compromise program at IRS. I used
Hmm.
to, with a pen, I used to accept them and deny them, so I know all the parameters. They used to fly me up to Atlanta, and I teach other people how to work the offers. And, before we even start the segment, I need to let everyone know there's a lot of fraud going on in this and people who don't know what they're doing. And I know your viewers need to know this. They have different programs called the Biden program, the Fresh Start program. All these are gimmicks to get people
Hmm.
to go ahead and call that firm. And 90% of all people that answer these calls are salespeople. The
Yeah.
only people that can go ahead and actually reduce your debt is actually an attorney who's licensed, a CPA who's licensed, and an enrolled agent, someone like myself. So when you call these, the first thing you want to ask is, well, how many offers have you put in? How many offers got accepted? And
Yeah.
I'll go into the program in a second. And are you licensed to go ahead and do this? Few people actually meet the muster because there's so much advertising on Facebook
Right.
and Instagram and all these bait and hooks. The next thing you know, I had a guy yesterday called me, lost $70,000 on a company who
Wow.
said that we can reduce your debt because you believe the person answering the phone. You
Yeah.
don't ever believe the person. I actually do. I actually caution people, if they're going to
Hmm.
give their money to someone, to Zoom me. I want to talk to them. I want them to see me. I want to explain the program. So education is this. So the offer and compromise started a long time ago, back in the 30s, with Joe Louis, who was a heavyweight champ, and everyone loved Joe. And he owed IRS a bunch of money. Well, the program kind of morphed into different things, what it is today. And you can call IRS debt settlements many things, but it
Hmm.
all comes down to the offer and compromise, where you
Right.
offer IRS X amount of dollars to settle the case. Now, two things before you file an offer, you must know. You must be current on all your filings. Your
Hmm.
1040s or 1120s or 9 all have to be up to date, and you got to be current on making estimate tax payments or federal tax deposits. If you have not met those criteria, IRS sends your case right back to you. Does that make any questions about that, or?
Right. No, absolutely. I completely agree with you on these debt settlement companies that you see on TV, you hear on the radio. In my experience, in my understanding, 9 times out of 10, they're salespeople trying to get the lead, and they're going to turn around and sell that to perhaps maybe a real company who could help you. But
Yes.
they just look at these leads as big opportunities to sell them a hope and a dream, and without ever really discovering if they actually qualify or not.
Yeah, some of the bigger companies, I'll go into that briefly, spend about $250,000 a month on advertising, especially in the
Wow.
14 bigger markets. A matter of fact, the bigger companies just have you fill out a form. What just
Hmm.
surprises me, is these people believe what's being said on the phone without doing any due diligence whatsoever. I want to tell
Right.
you all the cardinal rule for getting your offer and compromise accepted. You must give IRS your total liquid value to put in an offer and compromise for IRS to accept it. Let me tell you what that means. If you have $100,000 worth of assets, discount real estate's discounted 20%. You
Hmm.
must give IRS that total value for your offer. So if you have $100,000 in bank account, IRA equity in the home, you can't settle for any less than $100,000. So
Right.
many people get duped by saying, well, we have a special program, we have back end, we know what they can't. IRS is not allowed, and IRS actually has
Hmm.
a free tool called the what is it called? The Offer and Compromise Pre-qualifier tool. And I urge people to go there first to find out. It's a free, I think it takes 3 minutes to fill
Hmm.
the form out. And IRS is, as you know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, is only looking at two things. They're looking at the value of your assets. And what's really big is they're looking at your income and your expenses. What most people, as you know, you and I discussed this before, what most
Hmm.
people don't know is that IRS fixes your expenses. You just can't put your expenses down. IRS says, we're going to use
Right.
what's called our national standards test,
Hmm.
which is put out by the Department of Labor. And when they put that out, you are fixed to use those expenses on your financial statement when you give IRS, and that usually wipes about 90% of the people away just using the national standard. So if you were to Google IRS national standards for the four major categories are food and clothing, housing and utilities, automobiles, and automobile expenses. You must use their figures, and boom, you're knocked out of the program. So smart planning means somebody calls somebody like you or whoever. They have someone pre-qualify their offer, then they pay them, then they send the offer, and that's the best practices for a person listening to your show today.
Right. Right. Exactly. So it's my understanding that most tax professionals who do tax resolutions and offering compromises, they'll know in advance whether or not an offer will be accepted or not. They understand the ins and outs, like you pointed out, and especially the national standards. The average taxpayer person wouldn't know about that. So, which brings me to my next question. So, the average person who maybe wants to try to do this on their own, what would you say to them with regards to the complexities? Is this something that they could do on their
Crazy.
own?
They're crazy. I'll tell you why. Really simple. When someone calls you, I never file that offer of the day. Those financial statements have got to be polished up and changed
Mm-hmm.
legally, and things can be done to make their statement better. I think in the last year, I took one offer and said, "This is good enough to come in." Unless you look at have a true professional look at it and say, and I don't even take a case here, as you know, you and I kind of do the same thing. A person has to show me they're eligible for it before I even send their offer in and take a dime. Because most of them, and I tell them the changes they need to make, and then there'll be a point in time where they've polished and cleaned things up enough that they're ready to go ahead and submit their offer. So timing has a lot. You've got to know the program, you got to have your
Mm-hmm.
returns filed, and timing. Those are the three elements to get your offer accepted.
Yeah, that's those are some really good points. Now we've talked about a lot of the downsides or negatives with the offer and compromise, but you've said that maybe it was last year that the IRS did accept over 21,000 offers, but maybe 70,000 ultimately were rejected.
Yeah, I think those numbers went down. Let me correct that because the
Okay.
new data points come out. I think IRS had 39,000 offers sent in last year. I think 13,000 were accepted. Why? It was a COVID year and people didn't
Ah,
worry
okay.
about their debt. So the numbers, I think, went from 60 or 70, I think, down to 39. By the way, that data is always available. You can go to IRS website and ask for their enforcement statistics, and all those are available on their enforcement. But I think the average settlement too was around maybe 13 to 15%, but they're all predicated, on the case. So it's really, but now, just
Mm-hmm.
so you know, we were just talking about this earlier. IRS has now ramped up all their collection division. They were really
Sure.
suppressed during COVID, and now they're sending out all their final notices now. When you get your CP 504 notice, which is happening right now, boom, you're going to have to start to take action, because if you don't, IRS will do one of three things or all of three things: file a
Mm-hmm.
federal tax lien, start garnishing your wages, and
Yeah.
start taking bank accounts. They've just started that programming, as you know, right now.
Okay, right. Very good point. So the CP 504, if you receive that, that's a very serious letter. But ultimately, that wouldn't have been the first letter a taxpayer would have received, correct?
No, they would get a CP 2000 if, in fact, there was a mistake on their return. Then the
Mm-hmm.
first actual bill is the CP 14. Then they get CP 501. Everything's in 6-week cycles. Then CP 503. And then the 504 many times come out certified. So if you have a
Okay.
certified letter, what people do is, they put their head, I don't want to put my head down because you'll see my bullet, but they're like ostriches. They put their
Yeah.
head in the sand, hoping the tooth fairy will just take these letters away. If you're getting a certified letter, bad things are going to happen within 60 days of that letter.
Yeah. And if somebody's receiving or received a CP 504 letter, odds are they've neglected previous letters. So this is one letter you do not want to ignore. It might even be too late in the game to get help, but you really need to reach out to an experienced tax professional. And you take care of these special cases, correct, Michael?
Yeah, we do a really good job. We really know the system really well. I have
Mm-hmm.
a team of I think our former IRS agents have 250 years of direct IRS work
Wow.
experience or working for IRS. So we kind of know what's behind the curtain. The nice thing about what we do, not
Mm-hmm.
it's just we know every move they're going to make, so we're always one or two or three. Nothing surprises us. The only thing that surprises us is during an office audit where we really never looked at their records. But on collection cases, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
these are very, very simple for us. Very simple.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about what you do, Michael. You have a passion for this, and you're a true giver. You share your wealth of information. You genuinely want to help the public. I could see that
Mm.
about you, and especially the tax professionals community. I know you've put a nice community together. The tax mob, the Facebook group that you have for tax resolution professionals, and just wanting to share what you've learned, and getting other professionals to collaborate as well. I think that's really important, and it's very admirable. I tip my hat off to you for that.
You have to give this information to someone. I started this group a couple years ago. It just had myself and my two other partners, and then
Mm-hmm.
today I have about 4,600 people. And what I seen a need for in the professional community, there were so many wrong answers that
Yeah.
people were being given, and they didn't know what to do. So I first started to reach out to my professional community of former agents, so we'd help straighten out those problems, because I don't think people really understand how detrimental and how much this affects the average taxpayer when they owe debt. When they get this, there's enough stresses in life that really go
Mm-hmm.
on. And this is the last thing they need. People call me, oh my God, am I going to jail because I haven't filed? Are they
Mm-hmm.
going to take my bank account? When are they going to garnish my wages? And if we can relieve at least some of the stress with an answer, that at least lets them go to sleep at night kind of more peaceful.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. I mean, I'm always an advocate for taxpayers to get professional help whenever they have problems with the IRS or any state taxing agency
Mhm.
or anything similar to that. And the analogy that I like is that you wouldn't represent yourself without a lawyer, in front of a court. So same thing here. You wouldn't want to represent
Mhm.
yourself before the IRS, if you don't have to. There's many
Yeah.
options, but ultimately, not everybody can afford professional help.
Abraham Lincoln came out with a great line. It was Abe a long time ago. He
Hmm.
who represents himself is a fool. And I've always remembered that line from Abraham Lincoln, aside the many
Yeah.
things. Yeah, a lot of people can't, but let me tell you, if you don't have a lot, and IRS knows that, you can call yourself, people who have debts under 10,000 or 15,000 or
Hmm.
20,000, and they're just getting by to make it. Yeah, it's okay to call. There's
Yeah.
nothing that IRS is going to do. For the people who have the bigger debts, that's where IRS is going to chop them to pieces, because
Yeah.
you don't know when you call IRS, you don't know what's on the other side of the call. If you don't know what to expect, you shouldn't call anybody. You can, as long as you can control the narrative by knowing what they know, you can at least have some sort of success. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Michael, I really appreciate you coming on my channel today and
Appreciate it.
talking about the offer and compromise. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, I know you offer free consultations right to your cell phone. I think that's an amazing service that you offer. And Michael answers his phone. So if you call the number, he'll pick up the phone. He'll cut through the BS, tell you if it's a case that you might qualify for or not. Uh, no BS, no runaround.
We have no salespeople here. The reason
Mm-mm.
we want to get through the call, we want to let them know, you know, about one out of every 20 clients that I answer the phone to, I actually take. I probably wind up giving at least 80% of my day giving away free advice to people, because if they can't pay, they deserve to know an answer or who to call. And since I know the stuff so well, it's easy for. Plus, the Lord has gifted me to do this, so it's my way of paying back. It really is.
Hey, I hear you. That's really admirable. And I kind of do the same thing because Michael also has a YouTube channel, and the reason I started my YouTube channel partially was to give and share information that I had that people didn't
Yeah,
have access to,
you're the
and I
same
didn't.
thing.
Yeah, people should have access. I think to professionals. They should be able to ask questions without having to worry about
Yeah.
being billed for, for 15-minute increments. So
You can't give yourself away enough. The Lord always blesses what you do in really unique ways. And at the end of the day, if you're not giving it away, you're going to go with it. And really, what good is that?
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And my wife doesn't always understand why I devote so much time into my YouTube channel. I just have such a passion for it and
Yeah,
sharing it and educating and
yeah,
doing my small part in doing
yeah.
good for the world.
Yeah, that's really, a lot of people
Mhm.
may see this and sound hokey. It really isn't, because it gives you such a great joy to be
Yeah.
able, people cry on the phone, oh, thank you. And really, at the end of the day, it's God's gift. It isn't mine. He gave it to me for a purpose, and not all purposes are making money. So at the end of the day, you have to look at your value system and know
Hmm.
what really makes you happy. I would much rather give that joy to people a lot of times that can't afford it. The people who can, they keep me going. The Lord blesses me with my work, nobody else. So I'm not worried about every conversion. I have to please Him and honor Him first.
Yeah, most definitely. There's no better feeling knowing that you've helped a good person and even getting them to
Yep,
cry on the phone because they're so grateful
yeah,
that you were able to
mhm,
help them and
yep,
when they were at the end of the rope.
yep. That's it. I'm at the end of the road. It was a pleasure being on your show. I've heard so many great things about you. You've been doing this. You got about a 500,000 views, I think, yourself. You are way up there. So whatever you're doing at work, and may God continue to bless what you do, my friend.
Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate that. Thank you. So, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what's a good way to reach you?
Just yell out your window and say, "Hey, Mike Sullivan." And yes, I'll pick up the phone. You can call me at 954-328-3501. And I have a YouTube channel. Maybe you can just post that up. I doubt anyone's going to remember. They can just get back with you and contact you, or share it wherever you want.
Sounds good. I'll put your website and contact information down below into the show notes. Thanks so much, Michael. Thanks for coming on my
Pleasure.
channel. It's my honor, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays, my friend. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.